Okay, so today's class is all about emphasis, one of the most important design principle. And as we were discussing, and I have shown you the very first thing, that is over here, how we can see. Okay, you can turn off your video, Sarah. So this will be on the largest screen. So as we have seen over here, wait a minute. I guess I will have some option to. Speak. Okay, now, yeah. So as I have shown you this particular wall in my office, and how you can see, the red bag is the very first thing which came to your site, or any student whosoever is checking it out. The very first thing which will come to your site is the red bag. Now, why is that? So as I mentioned earlier also, naturally when we are looking at it, we can easily see that, okay, it's a red bag. Might be someone will tell that, okay, it's a red bag, or my eyes went there and that's why I can see it. But when we talk about the working of the sensory organs, our brain, our eyes, and how things really occur, or how things really happen in course of time, and what's happened, why you why your eyes went to that red bag at the very first instance, then we come to know about that, okay, it happened due to the wavelength of the color red. And though it is a very short span of time, and the length of the room is also very short, still that particular rays from that reflection of the rays from that red bag came to your eyes the very first, in comparison to the other objects or the other reflections which are available. Hence you were able to see the very first that was the very first object, or that was the object on which your eye eyes went, and hence it is being emphasized. Now while we are talking about emphasize, we also need to understand one more important thing. The name of the term is contrast, because without this very particular term, or without this very particular thing, contrast, emphasis is of no use, and most importantly will not be able to identify emphasis, because until and unless there is this particular effect or this particular thing happening, emphasis will not come into place. So while I am talking about this, I would as I was discussing, so let's come back to that point. Over here I have a set of AirPods. I'm placing the flash of this camera in such a way. Now, in this AirPod, as you mentioned, you cannot see the depth of this particular section. You can see it completely wide. As soon as I move this light slightly, and I try to place it in a different area or so. So let's assume it is over here, and I'm placing the light away, or somewhat this in this direction. You can see that there is a depth which is over here. So this understanding, see, right now I have moved the light completely. You can clearly understand, or this light is there from a different location. You can understand that depth. So this is how we need to or this is how a contrast is being created. So the contrast is again the work of light and shadow. So all these things are kind of interrelated with each other. So how this contrast works, if we have to talk about that quickly. So contrast is nothing but the difference between one object, or one in a composition, whatever you see, the difference between the objects or the particular certain elements in that composition. Now, for example, let's assume, okay, you in your school, okay, for example, in your school you suddenly see someone from, let's assume, from the Western countries. They have shifted to India for some work or so, and they are in your school. Okay, so they are in your school for some certain reason, and that guy's parents have shifted to India, and that particular person, that student, is now studying in your school, and he is from the Western countries. Quote underquote, his the skin color is completely white, how you have seen, with blonde hair and all, brown blonde hair. Okay. So what will happen? Can you tell me, at that point of time, what will happen among these students? Everyone's point of attraction will be that guy, not only because of that guy is duly admitted, but since he looks quite different. Am I right or wrong? Are you getting the point?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So quote underquote, I'm not racially profiling anyone, but this is what actually happens. So anything that is out of the box in a whole set of composition, or a whole set of things which are present in or at a point of view of a person, or what you exactly see, something which is out of the box, that is being emphasized. So for example, like, let's assume in a prayer hall, everyone is like, very quiet, praying and all, and suddenly a person enters, or like suddenly the phone of a person rings and he starts to speak very loudly. Hey man, what happened? Like, didn't see you for a long time. Okay, let's catch up at this place and all these things. So what will happen? That person will become the center of attraction for all the other people who are there in that particular hall, right? So this
Yes,
is
sir.
how exactly emphasis works. Now tell me, how is this person, let's assume the prayer hall scenario only, how is this person creating this emphasis? Why is he being like, the center of attraction? What has he done?
He has like he's a different from like he's doing different thing from what the
From
rest of the people
from the
are
rest of
doing.
the crowd, right?
Yeah, they are.
So he,
But they will be quiet and he will be talking loudly.
absolutely. So what I told, this thing out of the box. So this out of the box things actually creates a difference, and hence this difference, normally what we talk about, differences between person, differences between two objects or two set of areas. For example, if I talk about Goa, I will tell that, okay, it's like, kind of a nightlife and all these party things and all, like kind of vibe thing and all is there. And simply if I compare that with Tirupati, both are at par, right? Now, right now, when
Yes.
I'm explaining you, I'm talking about two things which are very like, one is at this point and the other one is at this point, like two at two different corners of that particular, like this topic which I'm trying to talk about. Now, this set of thing, like, this contrast thing is not only about two things which are at par with each other at such a huge difference, but contrast also works in terms of, for example, with a very minute difference also, there is a work of contrast. Hence, you can understand that there is the difference. So when you can understand that there is a difference, for example, when as soon as you got to understand that there is a depth in that particular space, like in the cap of the airport, then you got the contrast. Now, how much is it? That doesn't matter. But as soon as you are able to identify, for example, right now you're able to identify me as a person, this wall which is there with a wallpaper, this TV as a separate entity, this side wall which has no wallpaper as a separate entity. As soon as you are able to identify these things, there is a contrast. Okay, as soon as you are not able to identify these things separately, then the like work of contrast goes. So this is what actually contrast does. Now, since this work of contrast is there, now again contrast comes into place just via the work of light and shadow. Okay, because see, I have this room. Okay, there are several objects in this room. But if there is absolutely, I'm talking about absolutely zero amount of light, that means concealed concrete closed walls on all sides, all walls painted black, wherein there will be no point of entering a single, there a single source of light or a single spark of light cannot enter, and there is no point of reflection. You even though the animals who have those kind of they can see much better in
Night
like
vision.
for example owl and all, who can see much better in night, they also cannot see anything, right? So this is how this whole set of thing works. Light and shadow works, creates the contrast. Contrast creates the particular thing, emphasis. But we have to remember, emphasizing something is only when some that particular object is creating a huge difference or a huge contrast with the rest of the setting or the rest of the composition. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Now let's go to the text part that we were supposed to discuss. Okay. Yeah. So, as I was discussing, give me a minute. So we will go through these texts and all right now. See, what is emphasis? We will try to see whatever is written over here in text in relevance with these logos. So used to draw attention in design and space, emphasis can be created by using any or all of the elements of the design and principles of design. It solved many practical needs of daily life, of daily life. Life is missing over there. That is road signals, alert alarms, important indicators, signifiers, etc. The very simple thing. In fact, we are working on with these things in our daily lives. Just the thing is, we were not knowing these terminologies. So the simple thing which NATA has done for the past 3 years, and they will be continuing this year and mostly in 2024, the same thing, is they are continuing with the similar pattern, of things wherein you need to know how this compositions or whatever you are drawing, why are you drawing that, or why are you like, doing it in such a way, or what are the design principles, what are the things involved in it theoretically. So for example, when you are traveling on a road, if there is a speed breaker and it is not of a different color and exactly with the same color as of the road, rather than like, stopping accidents, it will create accidents, because you cannot identify the speed breaker from a certain point, like, a certain distance. And when you are traveling on a highway and, like, let's assume the speed of the car is 80 kilometers, it will go and hit it and it might roll over. So similar things works, like, for example, the indicators of the car, why they are in red. Again, the same factor what we discussed in the beginning of the class today. So it solved many practical needs of daily, that is road signals, alert alarms, important indicators, signifiers, etc. As well as it is used as an aesthetic and signature in lifestyle, fashion, logos, poster, interior spaces, depending on requirement, and that determine and speak a lot about human behavior. Okay. So when we talk about, see, lifestyle, fashion, logos, poster, interior spaces are quite understandable. What I am talking, what do we mean by signature or aesthetic? Is that signature in terms of it is being emphasized whenever you like, there is a signature, or your signature is quite unique from the rest of the document or which you are signing. Hence, that is creating a set, like, and like point of attraction, or that is the center of attraction in that particular whole scenario or the particular scene that you are seeing. So that is like, what we are talking about emphasis over here. In an aesthetic composition, again, the same thing. Something is being highlighted, or that aesthetic, like aesthetic things actually look different, not in aesthetic composition. So for example, there is an abstract art in your whole room and the rest of the things are normal. So that is what will, like, draw the other person's point of view. So that this is what we are talking about, an aesthetic thing or a signature. Clear? Any doubts?
No, sir.
Okay. So let's quickly try to understand what are these logos and how are they working out. For example, the 7-Up, which you can see being emphasized. In NIFT, the red color dot is being emphasized. In Baskin Robbins, BNR. In Subway, the logo itself is being emphasized. In Amazon, the smile. In this thing, like, like in Michigan Library, the whole set of thing. But comparatively, this E and blue space is what your eyes will go first. So this is how this whole things, like, is working out. Okay, let's move on to the next set of pictures wherein we see compositions or structures, actually structural compositions, and we will try to understand how these things are working out. So just give me a second. So over here, you need to tell me which of the parts are being emphasized one by one, from top left corner to this, then again this. In 2 lines, all 4 pictures are there. Tell me one by one what is being emphasized and how it is being emphasized.
So in the first picture, the windows and door, the red color.
Due to its color. Next one, right side.
So the red
Red box out
blocks
of all the white boxes.
Yeah.
Like bottom one also, it is pretty much understandable. The golden color dome is being emphasized. Talk about the left side, this particular, like, building, wherein you see some curvy shapes.
Yeah. So there's a curvy shape to the building, and then those windows, sort of that glass that doesn't have that, and also the color that is blue and that is green sort of color.
That is not blue, actually. These are all like reflective glasses. So you can see it blue in terms of.
It appears to be blue.
During the daytime, it is reflecting this color of the sky. And those plain spots are what, like, I like is the direct reflection or a flat reflection is coming to your eyes and hence being emphasized. Now, during the day, you can see it as a transparent one. During the night, again, those things will be emphasized as soon as the lights inside that particular building glowing. Okay. So let's move on to the next set of composition. So these are again, like, we will be watching some sort of in terms of, like, compositions or artistic pictures. So, okay, the very first one, Jesus is being emphasized. So see how this whole set of composition has been done. Now I need to add on, like, might be when the person was drawing, or who the certain person who was making this, he might not have the knowledge, or at that point of time in that era, People like that have the knowledge, or they didn't have this kind of PDF or a set of paper wherein this design principle was written. But when the psychology of a person or how a person thinks and what he needs to do. For example, and let's assume if I am going on a if I have bought a new bike, okay, and I'm clicking a picture of it below my apartment. So then what I will do is that I will click it in such a way that the bike is being emphasized, right? Not the garden or not the lawn around it. So similarly, this is how our psychology works. Though we know emphasis or not, any person who has bought a new bike will do it in the same way, right? So
Yes,
similarly,
yes.
in this particular composition, at that point of time, or when this composition was being made by Leonardo da Vinci, the Last Supper, just see the work behind Jesus. The rest of the compositions on the left hand side, rest on the right hand side, and Jesus being in the center. How he has made it is that he has created this set of windows, or this door panels from wherein the light is coming, and there is a huge set of contrast being created with the particular human being, like or Jesus being in the front, and the set of background which is there, that is in light, that is glowing, and Jesus is like the color of the whole composition of Jesus is comparatively darker, hence it is being highlighted. Clear? And see the number of people who are on who are kind of congested on the left hand side, number of people on the right hand side are congested together. Beside Jesus, no one is so much congested, no, there are not five people behind him hugging him or just trying to hold him and all. Then again that set of contrast would not have been created. Clear?
Yes, sir.
So now we move on to the other compositions. Again, we will quickly try to go through these. Over here, this particular lady who is holding this, most probably some sort of I also really cannot understand what she is holding, frankly.
Sir, I had actually seen a video on that on that painting, and that animal is sort of a mixture of two animals. Like, it's not a particular one.
Kind of these are some sort of abstract arts or talking about some science fiction. So
Yeah.
work out of anyway. So see the color composition, with the background and the lady being in the front. This is how it works. Similarly, okay. Similarly, over here, the red balloon, which is going away, is being highlighted. Over here, this lady in the center, and again over here, these statues, but mostly the statue in the center over here with a dark background. And this is how structures, architectural structures, are also being built actually. So, for example, if it was built with a flat wall, okay, without any of these columns or without anything at all, any kind of ornamentation or any kind of depth in the background, then this kind of contrast would not have been created. You can see that clearly over here for these two statues which are lying below him. So this is how this whole things are being created, or every day we see these things, but we fail to understand, or we don't have those literal terms, or we haven't seen these examples for this particular terms. Hence, we cannot really talk about them. Okay. Moving on to some interiors. For example, we always talk about red carpet. But over here, how this particular white or this creamy texture carpet has been laid over here is creating a contrast since the floor is wood. So always the red will only not highlight, because again, now what I was talking about previously is that contrast is making that red to be visible to you at first. If the whole thing, let's assume if there was this behind this red color, just a different shade of red is only there, a bit darker shade, then you will not get that red. The very first red thing will not be highlighted. If there is a yellow color bag on beside it, that is what is going to come to your eyes at the very first instant. Because what is happening, you are trying to find the when your eye is looking at this, your eye is getting attracted at that particular aspect, at that particular object which is kind of unique from the others. And now this term very term unique, when we talk about simple objects like color, wall, bag, becomes very much kind of open or same for everyone whosoever is watching it. But this thing of uniqueness or this thing of eye catching also changes in terms of like, from person to person. This is quite subjective. For example, if I talk about the beauty of a person, right? So that can change from person to person, or beauty of an object. What is beautiful to me might not be that good to you, right? For example, in the interior, let's assume in your room, you might feel that, okay, this is how the furniture should be there, and it really looks great. The same thing might not work out for me in that particular room, right? So the few things are quite subjective, but when we talk about emphasis or few things, these are also quite a few things are there in terms of objects, which are quite similar for everyone. Okay, now few other examples over here, which again clearly classifies like, the work of emphasis. This particular red wall over here, this particular two red color stools, which are being highlighted. Over here, this yellow color panel behind this deer. Over here, this fireplace along with the white setting. The whole setting is white, and there is a black chimney with a fireplace, and some like similar examples over here as well. So we move on. Okay, tell me, this composition is from which movie or web series?
So I don't really watch web series or anything.
I also don't really
but I
watch.
guess it's a Game of Thrones. I don't know.
Actually, right. So this is kind of like, quite renowned kind of picture, you can tell. So just heard the title. I like, frankly speaking, I also haven't watched this. But this is kind of renowned in terms of a lot of people have watched, or a lot of people have actually seen it. This particular setting, or might be a small 1-minute clip or something like that with this setting. Okay. So this is one, the throne is being highlighted over here, the water droplets, several other design principles working out over here. Not going into detail with that, because we will be coming across those things in the upcoming topics which are there, and then we will again come back to this and discuss. Now over here, a few things in real life, like what you can see, or in nature, few things how they are being emphasized, or not actually nature, I will tell. First two pictures can be natural still. Moreover, this right hand side picture which you can see over here, that is a curated or created composition for photography. Okay. So anyways, I hope the understanding of what I was talking about is this emphasis is pretty much clear from these compositions. How this egg being in the front and being cracked is being highlighted. This girl's eye. Over here, this umbrella. And over here, with the light background in the sunrise or sunset time, this particular lady who is alone standing over there. And due to the contrast, again, her figure is becoming black and is being highlighted. Clear? Any doubts? Or anything from practical life, what you have seen, and you might feel that, okay, how is this thing being worked out? Okay, fine. So over here we have some few examples, like in terms of how in stores things are being highlighted, and how in professional, or marketing wise, how people try to emphasize things, and how they try to gain attention. Over here, this Nike logo, this particular decoration of bags, or how these things are being placed. This particular bag is being highlighted. So how it is being placed in such a way, or in terms of such a design is being done, and the center, how it is being placed to be highlighted. Okay. We need to understand, or we need to look at these things. Over here, some ads, again, in terms of marketing. For example, this Band-Aid over here. So if this Band-Aid was being applied to a normal European guy, and normal, and he would have shown like this. Okay, leave European guy, in my hand only if it is being applied. And I have been I'm giving an ad just like this. It will not be highlighted, right? So similarly, this is how it's being worked. Over here, the shoe, Nike shoe ad. Over here, the highlighters ad. See, over here, this yellow color is being highlighted. It is catching your eye because it is in contrast with the rest of the setting, what you can see. Okay. So let's move on. Okay, some of the best examples in road safety and all, where there is a huge use of this set of contrast, and because let's assume this road lane markers which are there, it was made of black again. No one would have been able to understand where is the road, and where is the where is the lane finishing and out. Even the today's self-driven vehicles would have been never possible without these lane markers or without this contrast, because for the system to identify also, they are trying to figure out, like, if they cannot see contrast, they cannot identify really what is happening. So some other examples over here: seat belt, red color sign, the fire alarm over here behind the train, that yellow color cross symbol, which we usually see. Okay, now we move into rhythm. Any doubts still here?
No, sir.
Okay. So for today's class, I guess this is what it is. We will have some assignment now. I will stop the screen recording over here. So this is all about emphasis. We will now move into some assignment and start from rhythm in the next class. Okay. Okay. The screen recording is saved. I guess just a minute.